PEEZ and a Bong. It's your boy KP, and we talking NBA playoffs on this to see what I'm stepping on because I ain't got no shoes or no socks on, and I felt something that felt a little moist, and yeah, I had to look down, making sure I ain't stepping in no turds, if you know what I'm saying. So yeah, beautiful day, nice spring. I'm in front of the house right now. I'm just kind of chilling, taking in these sun rays, if you know what I'm saying, and enjoying sunny California, Southern California. Uh, I am from LA, but I'm not in LA. I'm like an hour and some change outside of LA. But that's neither here nor there. How you doing? Um, so I wanted to talk to y'all about the playoffs, and I'm just kind of stalling, just waiting for some more people to kind of come into the chat. Again, we talking NBA playoffs. So this is an NBA playoff chat. I'm talking basketball, talking hoops. For all my hoop fans, all my basketball fans, all my NBA fans. That's what we talking about. That's what we discussing. So if you are tapped in, I want you to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Two Peas and a Bong. That is Two Peas and a Bong. And no, we not into that smoking. If you listen to the podcast, you'll understand why that's our name. But the first game that's coming on today, first game is Indiana and Milwaukee. So you got that Indiana Milwaukee game, and that's the first game I want to talk about. That Indiana Milwaukee. Um, Milwaukee's headed back to Indiana. Well, yeah, they're headed back to Indiana for Game 5 in this series. I think this series is pretty much over. It's unfortunate what happened to Dame Lillard. I wish him a speedy recovery. Um, fun fact about Dame Lillard. There's only three players. Yo, what up, Scotty boy? There's only three players in NBA history that have five or more games of 60 plus points. Dame Lillard is one of those three. So you got Will Chamberlain, who's got a boatload of points over 60 points. You got Kobe that had 6 games over 60 points, and you have Dame Lillard that had 5 games over 60 points. So, Dame Lillard was in rare company. Let's not act like Dame Lillard was a bum or something like that. So, just want to say that. But yeah, we talking about Indiana, Milwaukee. Tap in. What are your thoughts? What are your opinions? I think Giannis is gonna go off tonight. I think Giannis is gonna be Giannis. He's been virtually unstoppable this whole playoff series, but it's just not gonna be enough. I think Michael Porter is going to score points as well, but he's going to score points, kind of at the expense of some of his teammates because I don't think he's going to get them involved. I think Porter's a heck of a player, but sometimes he can have tunnel vision and hunt for his own shot a little too much. Um, I think that intense Bobby Portis, look for Bobby Portis to step up, be a savvy vet. But again, I just don't think it's enough. When you look at Indiana, and I'm not even an Indiana fan, but looking at them and that Pickles, you got jokes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. The one that your mama's dating, right? Okay. So anyhow, the you said how many points, Porter? Um, I don't know what is his over under. Okay, Pickles. Shout out to Pickles. You giving me a like. You came in with the jokes, but now you want to give me a like. This okay. So Lewis, you got jokes too. Yeah, yeah. I do sell those, by the way. Yeah. You need to come and buy your subscription, and you got a subscription for them. So go ahead, why don't you stop on by and give me that $10,000 for your subscription for them farts that I sell in the bottle. Anyhow, 14.5. Ooh. Uh if it's a close game, yes. I'm not thinking it's gonna be a close game though, man. I think that Indiana is you saw what the second half looked like. I don't know if you watched the game, but they didn't have an answer for McConnell. So if anything, I'd be looking at the points for McConnell. What are they saying for TJ McConnell on points and assists? I'd be looking at that um, because he's gonna get busy. Okay, keep looking at the camera. This guy, the like, come on, dog. That's disgusting. Anyhow, um, Saudi boy, what are they saying for McConnell? What are they saying? What is his over under? Because I know you like them prop bets. So I help you on the prop bets. But getting back to it, some of these comments is wild, man. It's ridiculous. Um, anyhow, this is ridiculous, man. Man, yo, man, get off my live with that. Like now you trolling, you ridiculous. Anyhow, Indiana, I believe they shot 61% in the second half from the field, and that was in Milwaukee. That was on the road. So they're about to go home, well rested. I don't know if Benedict Mathurin is playing in today's game, but I mean, it seems like when, some of these players aren't playing that are in the rotation, it seems like Indiana's got some plug and play guys that are just getting in and getting busy. Um, what else? Um, so that's the first game. The next game, Boston Orlando. That Boston Orlando game, that's the next game I want to talk about. Boston Orlando. Boston is I'm not even a Boston fan. I'm a Laker fan. For those that don't know, so you know, generally if you're a Laker fan, you don't like Boston. If you're a Boston fan, you don't like the Lakers. It's just one of those things. Um, I do respect Boston. I do respect what they're doing over there. Boston, they're going to take care of Orlando in 5 games. So, yeah, look at that. Paulo Banchero, he's going to get them points. As long as they ain't got him for 31.5, should be all right on a prop bet. Um, so, yeah, you got, so you got Paulo Banchero in that. Um, Curious to see what Tatum's over and under would be. Because You know, one thing that people don't know is since I believe it's 2020, since 2020, Tatum has the most 30-point playoff games in the NBA. There's no other player that has more 30-point performances than Jason Tatum. So, yeah. So that's someone I would look at. I do feel like they're trying to get Wagner going. I don't know how effective he's going to be, but they are going to work to try to get him going because Orlando does need. They not only do they need a second score, they need a third score. Um, look for someone like a Cole Anthony. Well, nah, they're playing big, so because they're playing big, they're not going to be able to utilize Cole Anthony. So it's going to have to be someone like Wendell Carter. Wendell Carter's going to have to score a little more. They're going to have to score more points. So yeah, look at Wendell Carter. Man, look, y'all. I'm gonna sign off and log back in. This dude is trolling. This is This dude's ridiculous. So I'll jump back in the live some other time. Peace. Yo, what up, Bong? You know what, Bong? I'll stay in. Okay. All right. We got a troll in here, man. This troll, this dude's ridiculous, man. I'm trying to engage in this basketball stuff and talk about these props. The props that y'all be trying to tell me to stay away from. But anyhow, well, I'll stay back in for a little while. I'll keep going and keep talking about some of the sports. Um, so yeah, with this, so Boston's gonna take care of Orlando. I think Wendell Carter. I see Wendell Carter having a pretty good game. So yeah, I don't know how to kick people out, man. So I'm just still recording in spite of all this other stuff. Um, anyhow, yeah, Wendell Carter has a big game for. I think he's gonna have a bigger game for Orlando, but it's gonna be too little, too late. Um, Derek White has been lights out for Boston, which has kind of covered up the fact that Jalen Brown has been, laboring with that knee. It's what Derek White has been doing that has been helping. But I'm, curious to see how it goes as these rounds progress because it's only going to get more difficult. And Drew Holiday is nursing his hamstring. So I think that they have enough to beat Orlando and allow Drew Holiday to rest to try to get, a little bit healthier. But, I'm going to be curious to see how they are going forward. I'm looking at Porzingis. Poor Zingis he's a heck of a player, man, but I can see that he's on the back nine. This isn't young Kristaps Porzingis, that was in the league, 5 years ago. This is an older Kristaps Porzingis, still effective, nonetheless. But I could see the decline in production. Still a heck of a player. Al Horford, solid veteran. Um, he's been on the back nine for quite some time. Peyton Pritchard, six man of the year. You know, ever since he got that award, he struggled these last couple games. So I'm gonna say with Peyton Pritchard, he struggled on the road. Look for Peyton Pritchard to get off as well in Boston. Pause. I could see Peyton Pritchard doing his thing. So yeah. So that's what I would say with that game. The next game, let's talk about that Detroit New York game. Detroit New York. Man, that's been a heck of a series, man. It's been a slugfest. It's been chippy woo woo woo. It's been chippy, you know. And I saw that in the very first game. That was one of the things I said in the chat that I have with DP and Bong was like they they don't give a shit. You know, Ronald Holland is a rookie. He's young. Like, he's 19 years old. He don't turn 20 till like the 4th of July. He's young and he's barking and he wants the smoke. He doesn't get the time right now, but as he continues to get older and develop in the league, he's going to be a guy that gets minutes because he plays hard. And in the last game, I was actually happy for Ronald Holland because what happened with him is he started off very, very bad. He didn't start off good. He started off, he's making turnovers, he's making mistakes. Uh, he had a couple defensive blunders, and the game started to turn and go the other way in New York's favor. And, I'm looking, and part of me, I'm like, man, coach, you got to get him out. You got to get him out. But um, to the coach's credit, Bickerstaff, JB Bickerstaff left him in the game and he rocked with him. And, you know, the biggest highlight that we saw was when Ronald Holland got that steal and got fouled by Karl Anthony Towns, and then got hyped, went to stand over Karl Anthony Towns and was pushed by his teammate, by Cade Cunningham. Like, hey man, calm down, man, calm down. We don't need that. But that was at least a high. It ignited the crowd, it ignited the team, and it allowed Ronald Holland to make a play, a positive play before he was taken out of the game. So he did kind of leave out of the game on a high note. So I was happy that JB Bickerstaff rocked out with him and allowed him to do that. But yeah, I think he's gonna be all right. But looking at the individual players and the individual stuff in that game, when I look at a must. This is a must-win game for Detroit. So I would look at the rebounds of Jalen Duren. I look at the rebounds for Tobias Harris. I would look at the rebounds, and I would probably go over on rebounds for those two guys. I know Jalen Duren had like 9 rebounds in the first quarter of the last game. That dude could rebound his ass off. He is a specimen, and he's only 21 years old, like young. But I look for them to go over on those rebounds. Um, and I actually, believe it or not, I think Detroit is going to win this game. I really think that Detroit's going to win this and send the game back to Detroit. So I would go Detroit in this. All signs look at New York, and you think that they're going to be dejected. Um, Hardaway Jr. didn't shoot the ball well. He struggled from the field. I think he's going to have a good shooting game this next game. The environment of Madison Square Garden, it's man, it's going to be crazy. As the young folks say, it's going to be lit. And I think he's going to thrive in that environment. One thing that JB Bickerstaff did for him that I thought was important was he played him through all the missed shots and the missed opportunities. Like he was still playing him. And when I'm trying to think of the other shooters escaping my head, the shooter for Detroit, Malik Beasley. Malik Beasley was second in the NBA in most 3 pointers made. But when Malik Beasley started to get it going down the stretch, I thought JB Bickerstaff was going to go Beasley. He pulled Beasley and he went back to Hardaway. And when he went back to Hardaway, Hardaway delivered 8 points in the fourth quarter. So, like that, and then came down to the last shot, which he was fouled. It was clearly a foul. They did blow that call. And then the crew chief Guthrie didn't make it any better by coming out and admitting that they blew the call, that they should have called the foul. But back to Hardaway, knowing that and knowing that JB Bickerstaff empowered him from a mental standpoint, that is going to help him because, some situations players are missing shots and teammates are like, ah, man, stop shooting the ball. But it was clear that they weren't telling him to stop shooting the ball. It seemed like they were encouraging him to keep shooting. And, he started to find his rhythm. I remember the first 3 pointer that he made in the fourth quarter, it probably took 4 bounces on the rim before it went in. And it was like, you could see that the weight of the world was off his shoulders when he hit that first 3 pointer. But I see, I see him playing well. Cade Cunningham, I think their best. Cade has to get over 30. I don't think, I don't, Cade had phenomenal numbers as far as his stat line 25, 10, and 10. That was great. But down the stretch, Cade needed to do more. He missed a layup in the fourth quarter. He missed a free throw. That was 3 points. And, you look, they lost by 3 points. There was also the situation where Dennis Schroeder got the steal at the end of the third quarter. And instead of taking the layup, he dropped it back to Hardaway. And Hardaway instead of laying it in, went to dunk it and dunked it, and the basket didn't count. I don't know if y'all remember that, but that was a blunder. Um, so there was a, there was a few things. Schroeder defensively gives Jalen Brunson problems, so they're probably going to have to rotate Schroeder in faster and allow Schroeder to play more minutes. And when he's playing more minutes, you play Cade at the two and tell Cade to be an assassin. I thought some of the times they held the ball too long. They let the 24-second shot clock go down too low before they started to make their move. The other thing is, Cade has to reject the high ball screen. Stop calling for the high ball screen because all they're doing is blitzing the ball screen and making you pass the ball and forcing someone else to beat you. So you got to reject the ball screen and just beat your man. You're gonna have to beat OG Ananobi. The first game, he was physical. He gave you a hard time. You struggled with him. I think you figured him out at this point. This is now, I don't know how many times you played him throughout the course of the regular season this year, but this is now going to be your fifth game playing him in the playoffs. At this point, you know what they're going to do. You understand how they're playing you. Yeah, you got to be physical, and you just got to get past them and get to your spots, whether it's the mid range or whether it's to the basket. And when you're going to the basket, don't don't flail for the foul. Go up with the intent to score and force the referees to blow their whistle. That's the that's the problem with a lot of the young players now is they're playing for the foul instead of just playing through the contact and playing to score. I want to see you score because you big, you strong, you're 6'8", you about 230, 235. Man, like use that frame to get to the rim. You said it's Cade going off today. What are his props, Scotty boy? Read his stuff, his points, his rebounds, his assists. Read all of that, and I'll tell you. Um, I think the K, yeah, I think the K, but I do think the K is going to do well today. I do. As uh, I was saying you got to look at the rebounds for these guys on Detroit. Like, look at Tobias Harris rebounds. Look at Jalen Duren's rebounds. They're going to try to secure more rebounds today because this is a must win. So if you secure the rebound on the defensive side, that's an official stop. You've stopped them from scoring. If you got a rebound on the offensive side, you're giving your team a second chance to score. So I think that those things are going to be key. The battle of rebounds is always key in winning games, but when your back is against the wall, you got to scrape up as many rebounds as possible. Um, Another guy that you know they're going to have to find minutes for a Seward Thompson. You're going to have to find some minutes for that man. That he's too athletic now. He has to do his part and stay out of foul trouble, but he's way too athletic not to play. He's you gotta get him out there. You gotta find a way um, to get him, involved, whether it's forcing him just to guard Brunson and deny Brunson the ball. And I mean, if I'm Detroit, that's what I would do. I'm forcing Josh Hart got to beat me. Josh Hart, um, and Josh, man, I like Josh Hart. Josh Hart's a hell of a player. Plays hard, man. Doesn't have the offensive arsenal of a lot of these all stars, but he plays hard, man. Like he's gonna get you 8 to 9 rebounds. He gonna get you 6 to 7 assists, and he's gonna get you 8 to 10 points, and he's gonna get you a block and a steal. Like that, and he's not gonna take bad shots. He's not gonna make very many mistakes. He's gonna play hard. He's gonna play defense. Like that's what you need, man. A lot of a lot of people value stars and star power and all that stuff. And sure enough, but your role players, having really good role players, that's what sets a team apart. That's what's going to get you over the top because now it doesn't put as much pressure on your stars when your role players are good. Just ask Boston. Look at Derek White. Look at Drew Holiday. That's why Jason Tatum could have an off game and Jaylen Brown could be banged up and they could still, be one of the favorites to still win and get out of the East because they have those role players that could get you 18 to 20 still and are still serviceable. But back to Detroit, I'm what I would do is I would have Asar Thompson deny Cade, not Cade, deny Jalen Brunson. I would have Dennis Schroeder deny Brunson. I would have Ron Holland deny Brunson. Don't let him catch. Make him exert as much energy as possible. Just wear him down. You just got to wear him down. Now, on the side of New York, if I'm New York, I'm going to that Karl Anthony Towns Tobias Harris matchup. Offensively, I like that matchup for Karl Anthony Towns. I like Tobias can't stop him. And and that's no disrespect to Tobias Harris. Karl Anthony Towns is a hell of an offensive player. And yeah, I just don't think that Tobias Harris can stop him. So I would focus on that matchup if I'm New York. Now, what Karl Anthony Towns can't do is he can't be too perimeter happy to where he just wants to shoot three after three after three after three. So I would stay away from that. Cade, uh, yeah, points. Yeah, I could see him getting 27. So yeah, Cade, this is again, this is a must win. You're an all star. You're most improved. I think he's the most improved player. Been saying that for a while. He's gonna get 27. I see him getting 27. I don't know about the 10 assists. I don't know about the 10 assists because that's the problem. I think that at some points he was deferring too much in the fourth quarter. And that's why I said he should not call for that high ball screen. If he calls for the high ball screen, he's going to get the assist. But if he stops calling for that high ball screen as much and he puts that head down and he decides that he's going to go to the basket, yeah, he's going to get there. Yeah, I like 8 rebounds. I think he can get 8 rebounds. So I like his rebounds and points. I don't like his assists on overs. On overs. Um, yeah. So, but this has turned into a very entertaining series. Not gonna lie. Um, the electricity in Madison Square Garden is always there, but the electricity in Detroit was there. And like Detroit really showed up for their team and for their city. I was like, again, I'm a Laker fan, so it's not that I like Detroit. You don't like Detroit, man. Detroit beat us in the finals twice. So, nah, I don't like Detroit. But in looking at this, I was just happy to see a good crowd turnout and to see how they were supporting their team, their young guys, and they were behind them. So I did think that was cool. Um, and I wanted to address the push between Cade and Ron Holland. Some people some people looked at that as, man, Cade shouldn't be pushing him like that. That's his teammate. What the heck is he doing? You know, um, I had to do like I did kind of a deep dive. And Cade, graduated high school in 2020. And Ron Holland, no, excuse me, was it 2020? Yeah, it was 2020. Cade graduated in 2020. I think it was him, Mobley, and Jalen Jalen Green. Those were the top three players coming out of high school. Um, but him coming out in 2020, and then Ron Holland graduated high school in 2023. Ron Holland was one of the top players in his area when he came out, but by the time he got to high school, he was already one of the top players. Cade Cunningham was one of the top players. Cade Cunningham grew up in Arlington. Anyone that knows, Arlington's, right next to Dallas. Um, what's Ron Holland is from Duncanville, which is right outside Dallas. Arlington to Duncanville is like 20 minutes from each other. So I'm sure that these guys have mutual friends, have heard of each other growing up, were in the same kind of tournaments, and one watching the other and stuff like that. So that I think that's more so they're probably family, and they're probably closer than a lot of people care to realize. So that's big brother telling little brother, "Hey man, chill, little bro. Come on, let's play basketball." So that was another thing I just kind of wanted to break down and tell y'all. But yeah, I think that it's going to be a real interesting game. I think that uh, what's his name? I'm about to call him David Stern, and it's not David Stern. It's Adam Silver. Adam Silver has got to be pleased with the way that the NBA playoffs are going. He's got to. Like, I know that like these are really some competitive games. Now, of course, you did have some sweeps. You did have a couple sweeps. You had Miami. Well, Miami got swept. Excuse me. Cleveland just dog walked Miami, and rightfully so. Miami was a 10 seed, and then you had Oklahoma City dog walking Memphis. So other than that, the other games have been kind of competitive. It was unfortunate what happened with Milwaukee, Indiana. I thought that was going to be a little bit more competitive. Um, you know, DP disagreed with it vehemently and was saying that Indiana was the better team, that Milwaukee looked like they were in disarray. And, one of the things I was just saying was, game one, Dame Lillard didn't play. Game two, he did play. He looked rusty. Indiana still won. Game three, Dame played. Um, Milwaukee won. And in game four, Dame played. He got hurt early on, first quarter. So technically he played and technically he was 1 and 2, technically. But if we're talking about Dame playing all four quarters, the series was 1-1 in the games where he played all four quarters. So, me myself looking at it, I'm not going to necessarily say, oh man, uh, Indiana was that much better than Milwaukee when they had Dame Lillard. It was still it was still 3.5 more quarters to play. Things could have changed. You know, um, because we saw we've seen that in some of the other games. It could start off looking bad for a team, and it's a game of runs. So it may change. I mean, hell, look at my Lakers. My Lakers were up 10 points going into the fourth quarter against Minnesota and lost by 3. So it's not always what it looks like at that particular moment. It's how it ends. Um, but yeah. So and then the last game today, the Clippers, the Denver Nuggets. Clippers, Denver Nuggets. Man, so I'm a Laker fan, and me, honestly, I got a little soft spot for my little brother. It's like my little brother. Clippers like the little brother. I got a little soft spot for little brother. Like, uh, I ain't gonna call him little brother. I'm gonna call him, that's my little cousin. Clippers are a little cousin to the Lakers. They're not even brothers. That's a little cousin. And so I want to see the Clippers beat Denver. I really do. I want to see the Clippers do well, but the Clippers have a way. If there's one franchise, they're like the good times of NBA basketball. And when I say good times, I mean like Good Times, the TV show. I don't know if y'all ever watched the show Good Times with John Amos and JJ and Michael and um damn with Esther Roll. Uh yeah. So the show Good Times, it seemed like, it was just a show with it was struggle. It was always struggle. It was always mishaps. Every time it seemed like they was about to be on the come up, something dramatic happened to just keep them in poverty. And that's what I feel like the Clippers are. The Clippers are good times, man. It's like every time you think that they're about to make it over the hump, just reality just has a way of kicking their ass and bringing them back. Like when Kawhi Leonard and Paul George first joined the Clippers, it was like the Clippers can really rival the Lakers. Wow. And this is after Kawhi Leonard had just won a championship with Toronto and bought Toronto their first title. And it's like he may really do this for the Clippers. And then reality happened. Yeah, I'll go over props in a minute, Scotty. Um, and then, just reality happened, man. People start getting hurt. Paul George is gone. Like it just went from sugar to shit, man, real fast. And even in the shittiness of it all, there seemed to be a silver lining and some light at the end of the tunnel. And it seemed like it was going to turn around. And, they've overachieved. And now you've got the emergence of Zubac Shakur. And you got Norman Powell, and it became a thing of addition by subtraction. And now they have a chance to beat the Denver Nuggets, and they had a chance to go up 3-1. And in typical good times fashion, they let Aaron Gordon get a dunk at the buzzer. And so, Scotty boy, you got to give me all the numbers for the people. Give me the numbers for the over unders for this game. Give me the over unders for the teams. Give me the over unders for players. I like Nikola Jokic off the top of my head for points. If his points is like 27.5, I would take the over. If it's 27.5. Um, what are his rebounds? What are his assists? What are Zubac's rebounds? What are James Harden's points? What are Kawhi's points? Yeah, tell me these things. I feel like the Clippers are going to win this game. As crazy as it sounds, I think they're going to come out. So I'm taking Detroit on the road. I'm taking the Clippers on. Excuse me. I'm taking the Clippers on the road. I'm taking both of them on the road to beat these teams. Um, and I say that, man. Jokic is going to play his butt off. I don't know where Michael Porter is with that shoulder. He seemed like he was shooting the ball pretty good in the last game. But I don't know where he is with that shoulder. Russ Russ has been out. I think he's still out. Um and I don't know what's going on with Murray, but something is off with Murray. This ain't Murray versus the LA Lakers where he's just unstoppable. This is a different Murray. And he's not the same right now. Um, so yeah. So looking at that, who's got to hit shots is for the Clippers is Chris Dunn. Chris Dunn got to hit shots, man. And Chris Dunn, I think Chris Dunn's gonna get about 8 shots today. So I think I would say Chris Dunn has a chance of going over on his points. If his points are like 6.5, I would take the over for him because yeah, he's gonna get a chance to shoot the ball when he does that baseline cut, Zubac dumps it off to him. Um, you know, he's got to score. Oh, their over is 208.5. Yeah, they're gonna go over. They'll go over because their games run close. They're going to be in that hundreds range. I think that they'll be, yeah, they'll. I think that they'll both be around 110. And their games, the way that they've been, other than the one blowout, their games could have all conceivably went to overtime. Other than the one game where the Clippers just um. So yeah, so I would say that Kawhi Leonard. I think Kawhi Leonard's going to have a big game. I do. You get James Harden has to score more. Like I know that they're probably telling him, "Hey man, we want you to distribute the ball, get others involved." In game one, when the Clippers before they clipped it up, James Harden was going off in that first quarter. Like, excuse me, was unstoppable. And I think that they have to go back to that. Where they went wrong, other than not calling the timeout when to stop the bleeding, they went wrong in the first game. Kawhi Leonard only took 15 shots. Zubac took 15 shots. So, yeah, I like Kawhi's over. Yeah, Kawhi get 26 tonight at least. Um, Zubac, and no disrespect to Zubac, because Zubac's a hell of a player, but Zubac and Kawhi should not be shooting the same amount of shots. Zubac was 10 for 15, right? Kawhi was 9 for 15, but Kawhi's got to get more touches. You can't shoot 60% from the field as a perimeter player and only get 15 shots. Now, he did have 7 turnovers in that game one. So he was careless with the ball, but yeah. Okay, yeah, Harden, for them to win, Harden's got to get more than 21. I think that Harden goes into assassin mode. I say Harden gets about 26, 27 tonight. I think Kawhi gets 30 tonight. Zubac, oh, those rebounds. I would stay away from. I want to stay away from Zubac's rebounds. Are you doing these as parlays, or are you doing this as just individual bets by themselves? But I like the first three on over. I like the over 208.5. I like the over on Kawhi 25.5. I like the over on Harden 21.5. I like those. I feel like Harden's gonna have a big first quarter. Um, I could see Harden having like 15 by halftime, like easy. Harden will have 15 points by halftime. And look, and I'm not saying the Clippers are gonna blow him out. This is like Jokic is going to do everything. Okay, parlay, yeah, leave Zubac's rebounds off. The other three, yeah, I like those. Um, Jokic, Jokic is gonna do everything in his power to try to will Denver to victory. So, Jokic does everything from score, assist, rebound, run the break, coach. He may sweep the floor and wipe the sweat up off the ground because it's slippery right there. Like Jokic is doing everything. He might be selling popcorn um, during the timeouts. Throwing T-shirts in the crowd. Like this guy, yeah, he does all of that. You said Piston Knicks over at 216. What you think about that? It's such a physical game. I don't like that over. I don't like that over because how physical that game is. Um, so you have moments in that game where baskets are hard to come by because of how physical it is. So I don't know. I don't know about that over. I don't know about that one. With the Clippers, they seem to have a little bit more control, a little bit more freedom of movement with some of their players. So I could see the Clippers. Yeah, I don't know about that New York though. That New York Detroit. Not sure about that. Um, I do like solid numbers though with the over under. Like I hate point fives because point five is either you gonna win or you gonna lose. Whereas a solid number you could really push on that. But I don't like that over 216. I don't. I could see low hundreds for both teams. Low hundreds for that particular game. Um, but yeah, those are the four games that are on today. Those games, man, those are crazy. Man, those are going to be some good games. I mean, even with Boston beating on Orlando, it's still been pretty competitive, man. Like it's been a pretty competitive series, man. Boston is just, they're just a veteran team with more proven guys and better role players. So I look for Boston to win, but I would say the only game that I don't think is going to be competitive, that's going to be a blowout, is going to be the Indiana Milwaukee game. That's the only game, and I just think it's one of them things like where they'll come out fighting for the first two quarters, but I think in the second half, they'll we'll see the difference, and we'll start to see Giannis just kind of burn out and fade. We'll see that. But yeah, I'm excited, man. I'll be flipping back and forth between NBA TV and TNT. Um, I wish that they scheduled a little bit better. Four games on a weeknight is, I mean, a week, yeah, on a weeknight is tough. Like that's tough, man. That's hard. It does, wish I had two TVs in the same room to where I could watch both of the games and have both of the games on, like I was Buffalo Wild Wings or something. Um, but yeah, it's gonna be entertaining. And then kind of going ahead to tomorrow, you got the Lakers. The Lakers are gonna win. They will win tomorrow. They're coming home to LA. They're gonna win that game. Um, and I'm not gonna give any prediction on game six. I'm just gonna say the Lakers are gonna win game five. It will not be a gentleman's sweep. Uh, anyhow, other games, that Warriors Rockets game, that's a chippy series as well. That's there's a couple that's chippy woo woo woo. That is chippy. Uh, there's a lot of disdain for each other. At the end of the day, I need people to realize that the NBA is a brotherhood. A lot of these dudes do get along off the court and outside of basketball. But when they're on the court, they're competitors, they're gladiators. It's fight to the death. And that's what we're seeing. So from that standpoint, it's refreshing. You have people like, man, you got to bring back the physicality of the 80s and the 90s. And um, it's pretty physical. Okay. And you know what? I am gonna try that. I'm kind of getting some suggestions, uh, to where I may have to bring in some. I'm bringing an audience member the next time I'm discussing basketball. I got to figure out how to invite somebody, and they could ask their questions and we can go over stuff. Matter of fact, Scotty boy, you there? Scotty boy, you tune? Can you hear me right now? Okay. I know that there's a couple people in the chat, but I don't know if Scotty boy can hear me or if he's lagging, if it's behind a little bit. Um, but anyhow, that's a chippy series, man. And you know, that game, that was a fight to the finish last night. Like lost by 3. Houston did. And Houston's playing them well in spite of Jalen Green not playing well. Okay, Scotty boy, do you want me to invite you on here? I can invite you on here right now, and you can ask all your questions with all your stuff in real time and get some answers. Let me know. Um, I'm gonna keep talking about this Golden State in a little bit more detail as I'm waiting to hear back from Scotty Boy. So anyhow, that series, that's a tough series. Like Jalen Green, he ain't came with it, man. And I like Jalen Green. Actually, okay, got you, Scotty Boy, no problem. I like Jalen Green. I know some people. I know some of his people. So I don't know Jalen Green directly, but yeah, yeah. So I sorry, getting messages in my phone. So I do know some of the people that know Jalen Green, that train Jalen Green. I know his trainer. Um, you know, um, the guy that's in the NBA now that is referred to as his younger brother, AJ Johnson. Shout out to AJ Johnson, that plays for the Washington Wizards now. He was drafted by Milwaukee. Him and my son played against each other quite a bit growing up and went to different camps. And, being California kids on the East Coast, it was a group of us. We kind of clang together in those atmospheres. And so you start to see and that's the way that it kind of works. You start to see some of the same faces over and over again in some of these camps. They become familiar faces, and y'all, the children become cool, but the adults are sitting there talking because everyone's trying to navigate recruitment and navigate, what the best possibility may be for their child. So in that process, you become cool with some of the adults that are around them. And the adult that was impactful with AJ Johnson and impactful with Jalen Green, I was around him. I was around him quite a bit. And I'm gonna say he's an acquired taste. You know, he's an acquired taste. Some people are like, hell no. And some people are like, yeah. For me, I have positive interactions with him. I, you know, I have positive interactions because I still interact with him from time to time. So I have positive interactions with him. But I said all that to say I'm not knocking Jalen Green. I'm not knocking him. I'm just telling you, I'm more so like, come on, dog, you gotta come with it. Like hoping that he could turn the corner um and play to the level of expectation that we all have for him because he is a talent. And as a talent in the playoffs, you can't shoot 8 shots. And I think, Charles Barkley alluded to that well on TNT. Like the man was 3 for 8. We don't even know if he would have got it going or not because he only took 8 shots. Like you got to give yourself a chance. He should have shot the ball. Yeah, I'm gonna say he probably should have doubled that. I'll say close to it. I'll say he got to shoot the ball at least 15 times. He's you are or were the franchise player. Now they're looking at Segun, but the Turkish Terminator, as Shaq calls him. Um, but like Jalen Green is a matchup problem. Like he's got next level athleticism. He's got speed. He's got quickness. He's got just a burst. He's got jumping ability. He's got all of these things. You have to get downhill more. You have to. You know, Go on, settle, man. Don't I mean I won't say settle, but man, start going downhill, stop on a dime, pull up jumper. Like you have a mid-range game. I know you can do these things. I know you can do these things. So um for the Warrior for the Rockets to have some kind of success, he has to play better. In the one game that they won, he had 38 points in the one game that they won. So he needs more. He's gotta give them more. He's got to. Sengun, the Turkish Terminator, you got to finish around the basket. You can't go 12 for 26 as a big. You're 12 for 26. I mean, look, he had 31 points, he had 10 rebounds, double double. Stat line looks nice, but when you take a deeper dive, 26 for I mean the 12 for 26? Dog, you missing bunnies. You missing a lot of bunnies. And some of these bunnies you missing, you got guys 6 and 7 and 8 inches shorter than you guarding you. You gotta punish them. You got to. Um, sorry about that, y'all. I had to send the call to voicemail. But anyhow, you like you gotta punish them, man. And even in spite of Jalen Green having an off night, you still had a chance because you had Van Fleet. Van Fleet came to life, and Van Fleet was lights out, shot the ball well from three. You had Amon Thompson. Amon Thompson played well, made some amazing, amazing athletic circus shots. There was one where he hung in the air, went around, came back up, and finished that thing off the glass. I was like, God, dog. So Amon Thompson, and right before that, he had a spin move where he drove fast, got in the lane, spun, and finished. I was like, oh my gosh, like his athleticism out of this world, out of this world athleticism. You know, we got a running joke in my house where I talk about my oldest son and I say, man, you know, I wish my oldest son played with that kind of athleticism all the time. Uh, for those that don't know, my oldest son played for USC last year. He's now transferring. Him and my younger son are both transferring to University of New Mexico. My oldest son has that kind of athleticism. Well, both of my sons do. My oldest son's like 6'8". He has that kind of athleticism. It's like, man, I wish he played with that all the time. If he played with that all the time, look, man, I'd be sitting real pretty and I'd be broadcasting by the beach because, we had that next level money, but he don't play with that athleticism all the time. So here I am right here. Nah, I'm just joking about the where I would be. But anyhow, um, yeah, that's a heck of a series, man. That Golden State Houston, hell of a series. Like I'm looking at these games and I'm saying, damn, like the way that the playoff brackets matched up and came together, man, viewership should be up and a lot of fans should be happy. And I'm just talking about just from a basketball purist standpoint. I'm not talking about how your team did, just from a basketball purist standpoint to see that the game is competitive and to see that the game is in good hands. The game is in good hands. We got, stars are fading. Stars are, some of these stars, the light is starting to dim. And some of these small stars that we hadn't seen are starting to shine a little brighter. But yeah, some of these lights are starting to dim. You know, Steph Curry, they gonna have to do something though. They hugging Steph Curry. Like, that was a term in basketball when the coach would be like, "Man, you gotta hug your man." Dog, they're literally hugging their man. Like, dog, you gotta you gotta call that. You can't. I get it. I know some of the picks may be questionable, maybe illegal. Golden State was, you know, doing some stuff for years that it's like, man, he moving on that screen to get Steph open or to get him a little extra room to where he can release his shot or become more of a threat. I get it, but look, man, you can't blatantly just hug the guy. I'm seeing I'm seeing less contact done when they're doing the hack of Adams. I'm seeing less contact and that being called than what they're doing to Steph Curry on the offensive side when they're hugging him and nothing's being called. Let me say that one more time. I'm seeing less contact to Steven Adams when they do the hack of Adams. I'm seeing that get called faster and more frequent than Steph Curry being hugged, grabbed, and held and it not being called. And so it's like, referees, what are we doing? Just like these are the best teams, these, other than Miami, these are the best teams that are in the playoffs. These are the best teams with some of the best players. And on the flip side, these are some of the best referees. It's got to make sense. These referees, some referees were nominated, and so I won't even say nominated, they were selected to coach in these playoffs. And so, this is what you got. And with that, and with these referees, reffing, like you gotta call the game right. You gotta make the call. If a man is being hugged and grabbed and he it's restricting his movement and the defense is getting an advantage and you see that the defender's getting an advantage and the offensive player lost the advantage because he's held and can't move, blow the whistle. Like, as a former player myself, we're going to do what the referees allow us. So if I can hold every single play and that referee doesn't blow his whistle, I'm going to continue to hold because, well, you've given me that advantage. One thing that Bong was saying last night, Bong was talking about Draymond Green and how the referees allow Draymond Green to be demonstrative and to get into the opponent's heads. And Draymond Green can do stuff that other players can't get away with doing and still be able to play. Um, like it was, questionable as to if Draymond should have been ejected or not last night. There's some Houston fans pissed off believing that Draymond should have been ejected. The referees, they deliberate as they often do. And in that deliberation, those referees got together and they made it, yeah, Uncle Dre. Yeah, Graymon. Graymon Dream. Um, those referees got together, they deliberated and they said, look, man, if we kick Draymond out, the game is over. Houston's gonna win. We can't just give the game to Houston. Houston's got to take it. So we're not going to kick him out. Let's just call it a flagrant one, and that'll be our warning to Draymond. That'll. So they're going to get. Houston is going to get shots, and they're going to get a chance to put points on the board. Draymond is going to be on thin ice, and he knows it, and we'll go from there. And we're not going to kick him out the game over this call. Um, but we are going to send a warning. This is our warning to him, and so that was kind of their peace offering to both sides and to the fans and to the league. Like, look, we want to see these two teams fight it out, and that's what they got to do. Nah, we not gonna kick Draymond out and do Houston a favor. We're not doing no favors. But we're not gonna not punish Draymond as well. We're going to call it a flagrant one and go from there. And if you look right after that, they pulled Draymond. Draymond had to sit on the bench. And Draymond played sparingly throughout the rest of the game. So, I did like that the referees did that. It's like on some hands they do get it right, but on other hands they gotta fix it. When a guy's getting held, you gotta fix that, man. You got to. It's literally like, you know, if I'm an announcer, it's like, yeah, Curry got held down to 17. Like, but he was literally held down to 17. He's being held. So that's the yeah, that's the one thing where it's like, all right, we got to do better. Physicality, I like physicality. Yeah, aggression, all that's great, but let's do it within the confines of the rules. Like, if we're gonna be physical, let's be physical, but don't be physical, but you're holding and you're giving unnecessary pushes and stuff like that. Like, nah, come on. Come on. We got to get this right. But nonetheless, that's still a hell of a series. Still a hell of a series. Still a very competitive series. And I'm trying to think of the other game that was on yesterday. Oh, it was Miami Cleveland. Y'all, Bobby. Look, man, I said it last night, man. I have traveled the road to Damascus. For those of you that are Christian and understand the New Testament, yeah, I'm Paul. I'm Paul on that road to Damascus. I have seen the light. I seen the light. So Cleveland, Cleveland's competitive, man. Cleveland's competitive. Those beat downs, the last two games that they beat Miami down, they did that without their starting point guard. Yeah. Darius Garland out the last two games. I mean, if I'm Darius Garland, though, I always wonder what the heck is a player thinking when you're a starter on a team, the team plays without you, but it seems like they're playing better. Does that make you insecure about your spot? Do you feel like you're you could be on the trading block? Do you feel like you're the new addition by subtraction? Or like, yo, what up, engineer? Engineer in the building. Engineer, I'm really just talking basketball. I just went on a whole rant about your Houston Rockets. Uh, so yeah. Um, but yeah, what do you feel? What are you thinking? What are you feeling when you're not playing and your team wins by 50? They won by 50 without you, and you're a starter. You the game before that, I think it was 38 or something like that. They won by 38 on the road, and they won without you, Darius Garland. They won by 55 without you on the road, and they emptied their bench and put the bench in, and everybody scored. Well, I don't know if the last guy scored. There was one other guy on the roster. I don't know if he scored when he got in, but they put up like what 138 points without you. What do you like? What is Darius Garland thinking? So the first two games with Darius Garland, they put up 121 points. The third game without Darius Garland, they put up 124 points. The next game without Darius Garland, they put up 138 points. And these were both road victories, by the way. So essentially, they averaging 131 points without you. That's 10 more points without you. What does that say? And it's one thing in a season game. That's one thing, but this is a series. This is the playoffs. This is when it's supposed to be more concentrated, more intense. It's supposed to be tougher. And yet they're managing to flourish in spite of you not playing. So I always wonder that. I always think about that. Like, damn, what is a player thinking? Selfishly, when my children were youth, if they weren't playing in the game, I'm like, man, I hope the team does well, but I hope they miss my children. I hope that it's a difference, that they feel the difference. That's what I used to say. Like, I don't wish they lose, but I hope that they feel the difference, that they understand that the impact that my children have. So, I'm wondering, do players still keep that mindset? Do they still keep that mentality? I have, I'm gonna have to get some players on here, and I'm gonna have to interview some players one day. Going to my Rolodex and see who I could reach out to, see who I could talk to, and get some of these answers for the people. But yeah, like that whole thing with Darius Garland, that was kind of those wild moments for me. Um, there's a situation with Coach of the Year. I don't know if the Coach of the Year award has came out yet, but you have Ime Udoka, you have JD Bickerstaff, and you have the coach for Cleveland. I think it's Kenny Atkinson. Um, but that's a hell of a race between those three guys. And it's so unfortunate because I think if it was any other year, any of those three guys would get it. But because it's this particular year, you got all three guys going against each other. Um, I think that I think that Kenny Atkinson uh, should be. I think that he shouldn't get it only because he went to a place that was already a playoff team. They had already got out of the first round and made it to the second round, and they just got rid of JB Bickerstaff. Um, so they are the number one seed this year. Boston did deal with a lot of injuries this year as well. Um, so yeah, and they did make some trades to that roster. They got rid of Karis LeVert. Um, you know, then you get the Ty Jerome gets better, and you bring in DeAndre Hunter, which is a hell of a perimeter player. And damn, I didn't know his jumper was butter like that, man. God, dog, one butter on soft muffins, man. That pause, that jumper is that man. He was straight cash, homie, with that jumper yesterday. So there were a few roster changes that kind of helped them and helped propel them. But you look at Houston, and Houston, like, they sent Ime Udoka there to drown. Like, he was supposed to drown in the waters of Galveston and disappear into the abyss of the ocean. That was what he was supposed to do, leaving Boston and going to that franchise. Man, he's turned that franchise around, and they were a two seed in the West. That's saying a lot, man. It really is. And they're pushing Golden State to the brink right now. So, like, Ime Udoka, that's a championship caliber coach. And let's just say, man, if he doesn't get into his situation in Boston, he wins the championship. Like, it's history. We're living in the time right now, so we see it right now. But 20 years from now, people are going to forget that. They're not going to understand that or realize that. But Ime Udoka would have been a championship coach. So let's not act like he's not the championship pedigree type of coach. Let's not. Houston got themselves a hell of a coach, and he put together something special in Houston. He's putting something together special with them. So um, I do like him as a favorite. Well, I like him. I like JB Bickerstaff. I think that both of them, like, I think I think that they're the front runners. I would put them over Atkinson because Cleveland made it last year. Detroit came out of nowhere. Like, you know, Detroit, like the city was bad. It was tough. Um, okay, got a comment from engineer. He said MA's only issue is offense. I don't know if that's the player personnel or the scheme. Uh, the issue with the offense is Jalen Green. Jalen Green has to come with it. Like he took shots. I can't say that that's on coaching that Jalen Green took 8 shots in this last game and they still had a chance to win, even with him taking 8 shots and going 3 for 8. But like he he's got to assert himself more. He's in the game. He's got the ball in his hands. They're running plays for him. That's I don't. Wait, hold on, because I have to take it back a little while. Engineer, before you got on here, I talked about how I know people that are like close to Jalen Green. Like I know them personally. So I don't have hate for Jalen Green at all. Like me and some of their people are actually cool. Um, and so what I would say is that I have an expectation for Jalen Green because I believe he's that talented. Like it's just it's one of those things like I want him to do more because I know he's capable of doing more. And in taking 8 shots in a game, you're not giving yourself an opportunity to really have a good game. You How do you have a good game if you score close to 20 a game and you only take 8 shots? Like he made 3 out of 8. If he makes his next 2 shots, he's shooting 50% from the field. But we don't know because he didn't take 2 more shots. And then in their offense, you look at Sengun. Sengun is getting shots around the basket. They're setting it up to where Sengun is getting the looks. Sengun was 12 for 26. That's your big that's 12 for 26. He's not shooting a bunch of threes. He's shooting like, 10 feet and closer, and he's missing those baskets. So I don't know if it's the offensive problem either. They're just not converting. You'd like to see them convert more, but you like to see Jalen Green do more. And I would say that in the game that um, Houston did win, Jalen Green went for 38 points. Like Jalen Green exploded in that game. So it's not that he's not capable; he's very capable. He just he's only done it one time out of the 4 games that they played. And they've been in they've been competitive in all 4 of the games. It's But Jalen Green has the ability to put Houston over the top, and he hasn't done that other than the game 2. So that's what I would say. You said Giannis might be leaving the Bucks, package Green, and get that man. Uh, I don't think it's a fit in Houston if you bring Giannis. You got to have some perimeter shooting. So you can I don't think it works with Giannis and Sengun because Sengun plays closer to the basket as well. Heck of a player in his own right, but that doesn't work. Then you got Steven Adams. Steven Adams is a load, pause, but he's setting picks and he's the best offensive rebounder, but he doesn't step out either. So that just log jams it. You those would be the guys that you would literally have to get rid of, Sengun and Steven Adams. And you'd have to bring in you'd have to get rid of Sengun, Steven Adams, and they would probably want Amon Thompson. Or well, no, you got some pieces. You can Sengun, Steven Adams. Um, if you don't take Amon, you take Torrey Eason. Um, and then you do what's his name? Smith, Jabari Smith. You send those 4 So yeah, Sengun, Steven Adams, Jabari Smith, Torrey Eason for Giannis, Brook Lopez. You gotta bring Brook Lopez with him. So yeah, that might be a trade in the horizon. That might be a trade in the horizon. Y'all heard that. So Milwaukee trades with Houston. Okay, so we got that. Let me see. Then you said he could be capable with another team. He's 4 years into his career. Yeah, I don't think Green is a wash. I think that he's fine. He's just going through the growing pains of his first playoffs. He's figuring out what it takes to really be a star in this league. Like he understands that he's gonna have to elevate and hit another gear in these playoffs. So, he'll fail this year, and then after he fails this year, he'll go, he'll train, he'll work. He's gonna get better. He's gonna get stronger. He's gonna get mentally stronger, and he'll be better next year when they go to the playoffs. But yeah, that's an interesting trade, man. I'm sitting there saying that Sengun, Steven Adams, Tari Eason, Jabari Smith Jr. Those four for Giannis and Brook Lopez. Yeah, and you said send the whole team. Nah, you don't. I think they have something. I just think that they're a couple years away. They are a couple years away, and it may not even necessarily be a couple, because I look, and every year LeBron gets older, it seems like he gets 3 years older in the playoffs. Like he just these playoffs they take a toll on this man. You know, hell of a player, still dominant, but it's yeah, these playoffs are rough, man. So, and then I'm looking at Golden State, like the end is near. You look at them, and Curry's aging, Jimmy Butler's aging. Man, these guys they about to age out soon. So these young dudes, man, as I said last night, like these dudes is coming like a freight train. And DP was like, pause. So I'm gonna say pause again. But yeah, so I don't think Houston's that far off because they're young. They got a young nucleus. Um, you know, Van Fleet is older, on the older side. You, you're he can't be your best perimeter scorer for them to make the jump. And what he gave them last night was talking about Van Fleet. Van Fleet was excellent last night. That and with him, being your third or fourth best guy and him doing that, that's a game that you have to win. So that's why I say this about Jalen Green, like where I'm like, dog, you're better. That's what I would tell Jalen. I'd say, Jalen, man, you you're gifted, man. You're better. You know, you got to shoot more than 8 times. Get more than 8 shots. Get 15 shots. Get 15. Three of them might be bad, but those other 12 got to be good shots. And in those 15 shots, if you're really attacking, you're going to get to the foul line and shoot, 4 to 6 free throws. You shoot 4 to 6 free throws. Now, now we talking. Now we got something. Now we got the defense on their heels. And again, these guys are older. So you attack them offensively and you have them on their heels defensively. Now they don't have as much energy to attack you on the offensive side. Now defensively, it's easier because they got to take 1 to 2 plays to collect themselves and catch their breath. I don't know if you guys are watching that, but that's what's happening. Shit, look at LeBron. LeBron was collecting himself the whole fourth quarter. He didn't even score. He made a couple miraculous defensive plays, but that shit took everything he had. That shit took everything. Right after he made a hell of a block on DiVincenzo, he came down and he caught the ball. It's 5 seconds left on a 24-second shot clock, and he shot a 26-footer that he didn't have to shoot. Why? because of fatigue. Because of fatigue. Normal LeBron would have got that ball and went downhill, head down to the basket, freight train, and won. That's younger LeBron. But older LeBron, that's what would happen. So yeah, these younger guys attack. Dizzle, what up, Dizzle? Detroit in the building, Dizzle. Hey man, I'm rooting for y'all tonight, Dizzle. I'm rooting for y'all. I believe that y'all gonna win in New York. You said steroid tested hard in the playoffs. Man, even if they on them, we can't call them steroids, man. We'll call them unknown substances because that's what is it? Performance enhancing substances. Uh, that's what they are. They're substances that everyone is familiar with. So in this situation, in this situation, in this situation, yeah, exactly. These are compounds. These are uh, um, molecules and different things. You just add an extra molecule of this, you take an atom off here, and it just becomes one of those things. Now it's not a now it's not a banned substance. Now it's an unknown substance. And a lot of these guys have chemists. They have chemists of their own. And so, yeah. Where you guys going? Okay. Yeah, man, my family getting out of here, going to get some lunch. Um, and so yeah, so you look, so yeah, I think that players are taking supplements, no different than them taking vitamins and creatine and different things like that. Yeah, they're coming up with some concoctions to preserve their bodies. Because man, these playoffs are beating these guys down. Like they taking a toll on their body. I remember talking to some of the some people that are in the league and affiliated with players in the league. They're saying the NBA is like 3 years of college because college, you're playing 30 games. In the NBA, you got an 82 game season. You got like what, 6 or 8, I might be 10 preseason games, and then in addition to the preseason games, then you also have the playoffs. And in the playoffs, in order to win the championship, you got to win 16 games. You got to win 16. That may not be you playing 16. There's only been a couple teams that have won 16 and won. I know the Lakers did it, but most teams ain't going 16 and 1. They they may lose 4 games. Excuse me. They may lose 6 games. Just kind of depends. So, if they lose 6 games, that's 22 extra games that they got to play. So this is, yeah, this is, the NBA. Yeah, it's brutal. The season is long. It's a lot of wear and tear on the body. So yeah, these players are taking some kind of substances to preserve their body. And another thing that they do, a lot of people don't realize it, is after the game they go and they lift weights. Yeah, like I was there waiting to meet a couple players before, and I know after the game was over, they hit that weight room, and they was pumping that iron. And then after a 48-minute game, they go and they lift weights, and they get their lift on, then they shower, do all that stuff, get dressed, and they come out and they greet the people. But yeah, they lift, so they go through many different things to preserve their body. But yeah, rooting for Detroit, Dizzle. I'm rooting for them, man. I think they're gonna win tonight. I really do. And man, hopefully, engineer, you remember that trade that I was talking about, man, because that's an intriguing trade, man. I'm gonna have to go and put those salaries in and kind of work those numbers to see. But I do believe that Giannis is out of Milwaukee. He's got to go. He's got to go. He's got to leave. Yeah, and it's effed up because you got Adrian Griffin out of there, and Adrian Griffin was doing a pretty good job as a coach, but you got him out of there because you felt like Doc Rivers, um, you know, had enough cachet and enough know-how. He was familiar with winning. He's a winning coach. He won an NBA title. So you got Doc Rivers in, and Doc Rivers hasn't necessarily came with it. I know it's been some injuries and it's unfortunate, but it hasn't worked the way that I believe that Milwaukee's front office thought it was going to work once they made those moves and made those deals to bring those people in. So Giannis, yeah, Giannis is out. Hopefully, his brother is healthy because you're gonna have to find a spot for him too on the team. Yeah, go on and bring him out to Houston, and yeah, Giannis will be good. Giannis gonna get to Houston and see that weather and be in that weather and be like, damn, yeah, you ain't gonna want to go back, man. You ain't gonna want to go back to Milwaukee and be in Milwaukee. No disrespect to Milwaukee, but man, them winters are brutal. They got some harsh winters. Snow, ice, all of that, freezing cold. That Midwest weather. I lived in that Midwest weather for 11 years. You get out that Midwest weather, and you get back into some sunshine in the winter, and you get in a situation where you ain't shoveling snow, or you ain't shoveling ice, or you ain't got to let your car warm up for 20 minutes just to drive 10 minutes. That's a different animal, man. So, and also the body, you know, your body feels different in cold weather than it does in warm weather. Man, you got them aches and them pains, man. You go out there and sit in that sun and do a little sunbathing. That stuff make you feel better. That's why I'm out here right now, man, getting some of that sun. I was grounding. I was probably grounding for the first hour of the show, and now I've put on some shoes and I'm kind of walking around. But I think I've covered most of the playoffs. I'm trying to think if there's a game or a series that I really haven't talked about. I really didn't talk about OKC. Um, OKC could play Denver or the Clippers in the second round. That's gonna be, if it's the Clippers, that's a hell of a matchup. I'd like to see the Clippers win just to play against OKC in the second round. I think that the Clippers, I was telling Bong said this last night, so I'm not going to take credit for it. Bong said that he believed that the Clippers could match up with OKC. I think that OKC has more depth than the Clippers, but I believe that the Clippers could give them a run for their money. Zubac is a difference maker. Zubac is a difference maker. I believe he was the NBA leading rebounder this year. He finishes around the basket. Kawhi Leonard in the playoffs is a different animal. Um, I've seen him for the past couple years during the regular season. The first game I always see him in the regular season, I'm always like, he needs to retire. And then I see him a couple games later, and I'm like, man, this guy's amazing. Damn. James Harden never ceases to amaze me. Never ceases to amaze me. That's going to be an interesting matchup when you got Lou Dortz on James Harden. That's going to be a very, very interesting matchup. I wonder, is James going to go at him, or is he going to do a lot of foul baiting to get Lou Dort in foul trouble? That's going to be interesting. And yeah, um, I know y'all like, man, the Clippers, they still got to win 2 games against Denver. You're right, but I think the Clippers are going to beat them this year. Um, I think that Jokic is out in the first round. Uh, and after Jokic is out in the first round, they find a way to give Shea Gilgeous Alexander the MVP. So Shea Gilgeous Alexander gets the MVP because Jokic doesn't get past the first round. And I know people are like, well, that's the MVP. It's for the regular season. Don't be naive, y'all. That's not necessarily a regular season. It is, but it isn't. So, I mean, yeah, there was one year that Dirk got it, was beaten the first round by Golden State, the We Believe team. I do remember that, but yeah, in most cases, they're going to give the MVP to someone that's going past the first round. And I think that that's going to happen this year with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikola Jokic. So, in order for that to happen, Denver will have to lose to the Clippers. So the Clippers will have to win. And when the Clippers win, they will play Oklahoma City, and that's going to be that's going to be must see TV. That's going to be must see TV. And yeah, I think that'll be a hell of a series. A hell of a series. Um, so yeah, I think that's about it. Thank y'all for tuning in to my long feed, my long rant. Um, I know I talked about a lot. I know I covered a lot. It was slow in spots, but nonetheless, thank y'all for tuning in. It's KP with two P's and a bong.